Raise the flags, hit them fast, secure the bag. Don't even blink, make them walk the plank. Light them up, let's make them sing. Fire the cannons, fire the cannons, fire the cannons. Go Bucs, yeah, we on. Fire the cannons, fire the cannons, fire the cannons. The whole field's our red. Let me give you 55 reasons why this is our season. Palm trees breezing, opposing teams bleeding.
All right, welcome back to Buc What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Buc What You Heard. You follow me, I will follow you back. Promise. And guess what? I'm back from vacation. Had a great time. The Bucs were winning while I was gone. And lo and behold, as soon as I get back, what happens? Well, we're right back to where we started. It's all my fault. And I am joined by my friends, Josh and KB. How are you guys doing? Thank you for holding down the fort. I really appreciate it. And your insight is always appreciated. How are you guys doing tonight?
Tonight, good. Sunday, not as good.
I don't know. I mean, Sunday's game provided me with a lot of stuff to write about. So I guess I'm doing all right.
Is that
Just
good?
go on Peter Report and just search Mike Evans, everyone. It's a great read.
Is it? I mean, it's always nice to have stuff to write about and not have to grasp at straws. I will say I'm always in a better mood when I'm writing about good things that happen with the Bucs than not good things. So, yeah, it's an interesting dichotomy.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Adam Davies from UK Bucs. It was a lot of fun hanging out with those guys over there, and boy, they can drink. Let me tell you, it was, I had to up my game to hang with those guys, but at the end of the day, they were a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And, they're part of the show. They're friends of the show, and I'm glad to see them checking in. Thank you so much, Adam.
Did you and Adam, since you were in Germany, did you try out Das Boot?
You didn't try a boot?
No Das Boot?
No.
I'm surprised.
It was strictly bratwurst, knockwurst, schnitzel, beer, pretzels, more beer, more pretzels, beer, more beer.
But did you have
a
boot?
Boot would be the container with which you drink the beer out. So
boot,
this is a reference to Beer Fest.
Oh, great movie.
The big one?
Yeah, the giant.
It literally
boot.
has a boot. Like it looks like a big.
No, I didn't get one of those.
Yeah,
no, we were
gotta like twist it right at the fulcrum or something like that.
No, that's how it keeps going.
We were at Hofbrau's, so we got the Oktoberfest. If you're following me on Facebook, maybe you are, maybe you're not. There's a picture of me drinking out of one of those. So, it's just one of those things. But anyway, a lot of fun. We had a great time. It was amazing. Shout out to Munich, shout out to the UK, Europe. They know how to party. And I was talking with my man KB. If you don't know the words of Country Roads, a shame on you, because they did. And it was incredible.
Some people don't consider Die Hard a Christmas movie. I don't have to know all the words.
I don't like you. You know what? There's somebody that feels that way. And
Evan Winter, we're just calling you out.
Hold on. You don't consider Die Hard a Christmas
No, I
movie?
do. Evan Winter doesn't.
Evan Winter.
Oh,
that guy.
He's
I
crazy.
called him out too.
The whole movie's about him trying to get to his family on Christmas.
Exactly. His heart is as cold as Christmas. And I'm saying this. I'm doing slander Evan Winter's way. So he sees this. I hope he sees this, because it's true.
I'll shove it in his face.
Yeah, please do. Everybody, if you know Evan Winter, he hates Christmas, period. FYI. And I can say that. He does. I mean, he is he's totally anti. And he's the gatekeeper of when you can celebrate. So basically, maybe 3 days and 59 seconds after Thanksgiving, you can celebrate. It's okay. But again, that's for another time. This has been probably one of the most frustrating seasons going back to 2018 for me personally. There's so much talent on this team. There is no reason for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to be where they are. I think we've gotten spoiled by Bruce Arians. A lot of people had questions about Bruce Arians' ability to coach, but I think those questions have been put to rest based on kind of what we've seen recently. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the current coaching situation?
Whew. I think my frustrations with play calling on the offensive side of the ball, I've made them pretty clear throughout this season. And it's a continuation of kind of the Bruce Arians mantra. Let's not pretend that all of a sudden Byron Leftwich started calling first down runs this year. It's happened over the duration of his time as offensive coordinator. I think with Arians at the helm, what would happen is he would get frustrated earlier in the game and say, let's start throwing the ball around. Right. And you would see some improvements in the offense as the game went on. This past game, in terms of game management, was horrid.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about not taking the timeouts late in the game. That was terrible decision making.
I think it was prior to that.
Prior to that, the thing that set me off, I think I sent out a tweet about it. That game went out of their control with 12:40 left on the clock in the fourth quarter. 4th and 2, Cleveland 37. Bowles sends the offense out. I was excited. I was like, all right, this is the right decision.
Right.
You go for 2 here. Your defense has been stout throughout most of the game. After that, what was it? I think the Cleveland's first drive, they kind of tore them up, but defense really got their feet underneath them after that. You trust your defense. And what I mean by that is I'm going to let my offense try and get 2 yards. And if they don't, I'm okay with that because I trust my defense to get a stop.
Based on what you've seen throughout the game.
Exactly. And you know what? Looks like Todd Bowles, no matter what he says, he did not trust his defense. He didn't trust his offense to get 2 yards, and he didn't trust his defense to stop Cleveland from the 37. He wanted to put them back. I will give him credit. He's thinking maybe they can get him inside the 20. But worst case scenario, that they ended up on the 20. So he trusts his defense to stop them from getting 80 yards, but not 63.
Right.
And I've always found that argument that coaches say, well, I trusted my defense, that's why I punted. No, you didn't trust your defense. That's why you punted. You want to give them as much field position as possible. I've always found that argument counterintuitive. And that's where the game started to slip away from the Bucs.
Yeah.
They needed maybe 7 yards to create a field goal, a good chance at a field goal, which would have put them up by two scores. Right. And at that point, you basically put the game away. Right. And Bowles decided not to coach to win. He decided to coach to not lose, and he failed.
Yeah,
and that was the one that crushed me.
I think when you go out and you have a series where you're only taking 14 seconds off the clock, that's a problem. That is a fundamental. We talk about situational football. This is huge right here. I mean, when you're, I know we've talked about, you run the ball too much, but this is when you need to lean on your running game when you're late in the game like this. I'm sorry, you got the lead and you go out and you go 3 and out in 14 seconds or taken off the clock. I mean, that's a problem. That is and I blame that more on coaching more so than, if you're not going to lean on your quarterback, you've got obviously the greatest quarterback ever, and you're not comfortable with him putting the ball in his hands to get you the win. That's a huge problem to me. And what is it going to be when you don't have Tom Brady here and you have a mediocre quarterback or a subpar quarterback and you're having to, turn to them? I mean, this scares me right now that if this is how you view your team with a Tom Brady, how are you going to view your team without a Tom Brady?
Well, I think Bowles has shown that, he's a defensive coach, right? He's an elite defensive coordinator. Anybody who tries to say he's not, that they're wrong.
100%.
The guy is a fantastic defensive mind, but he's bringing that viewpoint into his role as a head coach. He wants to win with his defense. And unfortunately, defensive performances are actually much more variable than offensive performances over a macro period of time. And that's going to lead to an extremely volatile team. And that's exactly what you have with the Bucs this year. A very volatile team. And that's why they're 5-6.
Yep. And it's scary. It's just scary. I mean, you look at the NFC South, the Bucs could have done so much for themselves at this point in the season by getting this win, but instead they've kind of put themselves back with the rest of the pack and left the NFC South up for grabs. It's frustrating.
Couldn't agree more. How about you, Ken?
He's been quiet. Or is he frozen? Is he frozen or quiet?
I think he's maybe frozen again.
I think he's frozen again. He'll come back to us eventually.
Okay.
But for you, I mean, you know, when you look at this and you look at the schedule moving forward, do the Bucs have a chance to make it to the playoffs? Really?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, they're leading the division. Anybody who's leading their division after 11 games has a realistic shot at making it to the playoffs. They have only one path to the playoffs. There's no way they're going to get in as a wild card team. But in a down NFC South, where they are the division leader, they're half a game up on Atlanta. Plus, they have the tiebreaker on Atlanta because they beat Atlanta earlier this year. Yeah. I still think their probability to win to make it to the playoffs is still, I want to say, north of 70%. So this team is more likely than not going to make it to the playoffs. I think where most Bucs fans are concerned is, what does the team look like when they get there, and how long will they be in the playoffs?
Yeah.
And those are some real concerns.
Yeah, and I want to put this question out there to you, Tristan Wirfs. What is an offensive line without a Tristan Wirfs look like, and is it manageable to win games without a Tristan Wirfs in there?
Yeah, they're going to have to adjust some of their line calls, and they'll have to adjust some of their offensive schematics. They won't be able to drop quite as many deep shots, or if they do, they need to go to more play action, which tends to be beneficial towards the offensive line.
Right.
But yeah, they've got a shot at still producing without Wirfs, and especially because the man's superhuman and apparently going to be back in like 3 to 4 weeks.
It's crazy.
When we all saw that play, and it was Keyshawn Vaughn basically just launching JOK into the air, and he just happened to, I mean, it was a freak accident. He fell on Tristan because the dude jumped like into Keyshawn Vaughn's lap. They can weather this storm. I haven't looked at the injury report for the Saints. I should have looked at it today. I haven't looked at it yet.
I've been too depressed to look at anything, so
I can pull it up here in a second. Yeah. But what I do recall that, you know, the Saints pass rush has been going through a whole mess of injuries themselves. Mm-hmm. So you kind of take it, I'm going to use a cliche here, 1 week at a time, and there's a good chance that they will probably be able to match up okay against the Saints pass rush.
Yeah.
And then you just keep going week to week. That San Francisco game looks very, very
daunting,
worrisome, because Joey Bosa tends to, Nick Bosa, he tends to rush off the defense's left side. So that's going to be up against the right tackle. And that will be a giant mismatch against Josh Wells.
Yeah, absolutely. If Tristan Wirfs were in there, we know that Tristan Wirfs handled him the last time. And I'm thinking his brother. He handled his brother, excuse me. But, you know, without Wirfs in there, it's just going to be a challenge for this offensive line. They have to scheme to, I'm concerned that can they scheme with the coaching staff the way it is, and it continuously regresses. You know, they make strides and then all of a sudden they're regressing. So I don't know. I'm like unsure about anything anymore.
Yeah, it's very disappointing, especially coming off of the bye week.
Mm-hmm. That should have been a W, to be honest, just with the way everything lined up. and the way they played throughout the game. It just I honestly believe it came down to coaching and situational football.
Yeah, from a process standpoint, there were continued. I'm trying to use measured words here.
There's no measured words on
pause in the process.
You just have to just put it out there, bro.
Okay, the game planning still sucked. It's just kind of what it was. It was very flawed. They continue to spam first down runs. They continue to put themselves in third and longs, and the cognitive dissonance with Bowles' press conference following the game, where he's like, we weren't executing on third and long. I would argue let's not get into third and long.
Yeah.
Let's create a better process where we avoid third down altogether, or at least more than, I think they had 16 third downs in the game. There are some things that we have belabored ad nauseum where you can avoid that. You can maybe only have 12 third downs in a game because you are getting new first downs before you ever reach third, or the third downs that you're getting to are more third and shorts, where the Bucs were a bit more successful on third and shorts. I think they were 2 for 5. So he sees the issue with third and long, but he either doesn't see or he doesn't want to fix the issues that are leading them to that situation. And when you're in third and long, you're just asking Brady to be perfect. He's great, but he's not perfect. This offense is great, or he can be great. It's not perfect. And asking them to continue to do that is a fool's errand.
I'm going to say this. I've heard so many people talk about, oh, well, if there's execution this, execution that. Yeah, I understand. But when you look at the game, the whole game, and where coaching comes into play and execution comes into play, the team had put themselves up in the lead, and they're in the lead. And what it comes down to is, there were opportunities for the coach to call the timeouts where they needed to be called. Again, there were a lot of opportunities. There was, when I look at situational football, I wasn't seeing it really. I mean, there were times where you saw passes, and there were times where I felt like they should have ran, try to run the clock out. But again, I don't know. I just I can't not look at the coaching. I know that there were missed opportunities and there's enough blame to go around, but for the most part, there were opportunities towards the end of the game to put Tampa in a position to where they, even though they missed the chance to extend the lead, that they could have still won that game.
Yeah, philosophically, a coach's job should be to give your players the most margin of error possible. Like, that's the way I kind of think about it. How can I put my team in position where I can give them the greatest margin of error? That way, I'm planning to give them where they don't have to be perfect from an execution standpoint. A player's job is to try and execute as close to perfect as possible. A coach's job is to give them as much room where they don't have to be perfect. And this coaching staff seems to go out of its way to prevent that, to say, we're going to put them in a position where they have to be as close to perfect as possible.
Yeah.
And Brady of 2021, Brady of 2020, he executed better. He was closer to perfect. I would argue a lot of that's because he felt more comfortable in the pocket. And this year he does not feel as comfortable in the pocket. Some of that is just habits that he's built from early in the season and the PTSD he developed from having to sit in a pocket behind Luke Gedeke. And even like Nick Leverett was not perfect in this game. And obviously Donovan Smith had his hands full and did not hold up well against Myles Garrett.
Well, Myles Garrett's when you're talking about pass rushers, he's like number one in the NFL right now, isn't he?
I would argue he is the premier edge rusher in the NFL right now. Everybody loves Micah Parsons, and don't get me wrong, Micah Parsons is elite. I will use that word, even though I think it gets thrown around. He's still not on Garrett's level. Garrett is he's in a tier of his own. And Donovan Smith he could not handle him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't think that he's going to erase Garrett. I think he could have done better against Garrett. When you have a Jamari Sawyer, who was drafted to be a guard for the Chargers, and due to injuries, he's now playing left tackle for them. He did not have a pretty game against the Browns and against Garrett, but they were able to create situations where he didn't allow a sack because of the way they game planned the blocking scheme for him. And I think the Bucs went out there and they just said, well, we've got Donovan Smith and we're just going to let him go toe-to-toe with Garrett and he should be able to handle his own, and he didn't.
Hey, I got a call coming in. Hold on 1 second. All right, you are live on Buc What You Heard. Who are we talking with? Can you hear me? You are live on Buc What You Heard. Who are we talking with?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Can you hear me?
All right. So I'd like to, yes, I can hear you. You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
I hear you fine. So everyone keeps saying coaching staff. Here's the problem with that. If you're watching film, you notice that we don't have the same Tom Brady. He can't hit over the top. He hasn't been able to hit Scotty. He hasn't been able to hit Mike several times, not just once, twice, several times, 3 times in a game. Like, he just can't hit over the top anymore. His accuracy is not the same. I think the coaching staff sees that. I know that the players are starting to see it because you're starting to see the frustration with Mike Evans. You're starting to see the frustration with Chris Godwin. There's a play in Sunday's game where Chris Godwin's throwing his hands up, and he just kind of like frustrated because Brady just takes the check down. Brady cannot throw consistently with any accuracy with 10 yards or more. He just can't. If you look at the chart, I broke it down each quarter. In the first quarter, he has 2 passes that went for 4 or 9 yards, 0 for 10 plus yards. And I'm not talking about catching it and then running. I'm talking about air yards, and 0 for over the top shots. In the second quarter, he has 2 passes that went from 4 to 9 yards. He threw 3 passes that went 10 plus yards. 2 of them were incomplete. 1 of them could have been a touchdown, and 1 of them in the third quarter, he threw 1 pass for 4 that traveled 4 to 9 yards, and he completed 2 that were 10 plus yards. And in the fourth quarter, he threw 1 incompletion, but that wasn't his fault. That was for 4 to 9 yards, and he threw 4 passes that went 10 plus yards. 3 of them were incomplete, and only 1 of them was complete. And he threw 10 over-the-top shots. 1 of them should have been a touchdown, and both of them were incomplete. In overtime, he threw 3 passes that was 4 yards, 4 to 9 yards. He completed all 3 of them. And he threw 3 passes that were 10-plus yards, didn't complete 1 of them, and threw 1 pass that was over the top to Mike Evans and didn't complete that either. And that should have been a touchdown. I think the coaches and the weapons are starting to understand. And I don't understand why it's so hard for Buc fans or Brady fans to just admit. I mean, the man is 45 years old. When he said, I think I can play till 45, he obviously didn't think he would be able to play after 45. It is what it is. The arm's not the same. I think they've realized it, maybe even after the bye week. That's why the game plan came out the way it was. If you watch the play calling, we went from sending 2, 3 different guys out there going over the top to now we just send 1, because it's like we're just wasting routes if we're sending people down the field because Brady's not throwing it. And when he does, most of the time it's incomplete. This is why, I mean, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 3 and out in that game yesterday. 2 of them were back-to-back 3 and out. I mean, 4 of them, I'm sorry. They went back-to-back 3 and out, and then on another possession, they went back-to-back 3 and out again. So that's 4 possessions where they went back-to-back 3 and out. It's really just that simple. Okay, Brady really can't throw down the field, and our weapons are made for that. Scotty Miller is not Danny Amendola. Okay, none of our weapons were ever made to be short route. Mike Evans is a deep route. Look at his average. He averages over 15 yards in his whole career. That's what he does. Chris Godwin, the same thing. Scotty Miller was drafted to be John Brown, not Danny Amendola. What does John Brown do? He takes the top off. What has Scotty Miller been known to do? Take the top off. We can't use Scotty Miller no more because Brady can't take the top off. He can't hit over the top. He can throw it in an area of the field down the field, but he can't pinpoint it or throw the ball accurately. And that's what Byron Leftwich has to deal with when you talk about play calling and game planning. And that's what Todd Bowles has to deal with when you talk about protecting the quarterback. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 check downs or screen passes that he did in the last game. And they're all completed. And that's why his completion is decent. But after that, we are just average. We're worse than average. We're worse than average throwing the ball down the field. And I'm talking about after 9 yards, throwing the ball down the field. It's hard to win in today's NFL if you have an average run game and you can't throw down the field. And as far as this O-line talk about, oh, he has PTSD, whose problem is that? Like, if you can't stay in the pocket, if you got PTSD because you used to have a bad O-line, then don't be on the field. Like, why are we playing with one hand because our quarterback is scared to get hit? Like, if he's scared to play football, then don't play football. I just don't understand this. I'd rather have someone that's going to stay in the pocket and throw to the open guy. That's the other part. It's not like Brady's, he can't hit the thread, the needle. No. He's missing bad throws where it's like, okay, you should have made that throw. I know Trask can make that throw. I know Gabbert can make that throw. Like, just these are not like, oh, you got to be a Hall of Fame to make that throw. No, we're not talking about throws like this. We're talking about just throws that a regular quarterback should be able to sit in the pocket and make that throw. And he's missing them because, 1, he's scared in the pocket. 2, he's just missing it. Or 3, he's missing the read. If that's the problem, then listen, we got to move. We got to go somewhere else. So the problem that I have, and the reason why I'm so hard about this, is because we're putting blame on Byron Leftwich, who has to deal with the quarterback that can't throw 10+ yards, that has weapons that are all about that. And we're putting blame on Todd Bowles, who, yes, I agree with the whole should have called timeout and should have went for it. That's cool. Yeah, I agree. He should have did that, but he didn't. It is what it is. Still should have been able to win the game easily, hands down, with the weapons we have and the defense we have.
Okay, so let me stop you. Let me stop you right there. So what is it? When you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they were winning. They were winning this game. And to all your points, the Bucs had the lead going into the fourth quarter. Am I right or am I wrong here? I can understand what you were saying if the Bucs were down throughout the whole game and they were struggling to catch up and even compete with the Cleveland Browns. Your points would be duly noted. But the fact that they had the lead going into the fourth quarter and into the fourth quarter, I have to disagree with that. And where it counted was the last 5 minutes of the game where they had a series where they went 3 and out and they only shaved like 14 seconds off the clock. At this point, you have a team that's gained momentum. Number one, they've gained momentum in the Cleveland Browns, and you have the lead and you have a chance to take time off the clock and, win that field position battle. And they're throwing passes when they should probably be running the ball to run the clock out. But that's just me personally.
So here's the thing.
All right, hold on. Because, dude, we let you air out a lot, okay? All right, so I'd like to be given a chance to respond. I'd like to be given a chance to respond, hopefully without being interrupted. All right, because we gave you all that time to talk. All right, so when I say Tom Brady has PTSD, all right, I'll start right there. What I mean by that is he has had to alter A, the way he throws, and B, the timing of his throws. All right, he has had to accelerate his release It is now, I haven't checked in the last couple of weeks, but for quite a bit of the season, he was number 1 or number 2.
Him
in
and
the
Rodgers are
entire
1 and 2,
NFL.
and it's right above 2 seconds.
Right. It was like 2.16 seconds. Okay. And the reason why he had to get the ball out, because any other quarterback, all right, in the NFL would have been taking sacks at an extremely high rate. And if you don't believe that, go back to 2019. Look at this offense in 2019, where you had Jameis Winston, who was taking an inordinate amount of sacks because his time to throw is much, much later than Brady's. All right. And Brady still is one of the least sacked quarterbacks in the league. I think he was up to 17 after this past week, because he altered the way he plays to fit a terrible left guard. Okay. And that is something where you do create a habit, and it takes him some time to reprogram himself to say, I've got more time. And look, Nick Leverett is a huge step up from where Luke Gedeke was playing earlier this season. Nick Leverett is still not playing, I would say, at an above average rate. He's playing around an average left guard. All right. So Brady still has to, and especially this past week with Myles Garrett wreaking havoc, he's still having to throw the ball very quickly. In a downfield offense, that means he's getting the ball out before his receivers are necessarily getting into their breaks. Now, is Brady hitting deep shots like he has in the past? No. And part of that is also because he hasn't been able to step into his throws the way that he has in years past. The reason why is because when he was trying to step into his throws, he had pressure coming up the middle. He couldn't step into his throws, or else it was going to affect the pass too much. All right. I just did an article on this. I encourage you to go read it at Pewter Report. You'll see one where he had to come out of structure because he had interior pressure. I want to say it was in the Ravens game. All right. And he had to roll to his weak side and try and hit Mike Evans down the sideline. Evans beat his man one-on-one, and he ends up underthrowing Evans. Why? Because he was literally rolling to his weak side, throwing across his body. That is not something that Brady has ever been very good at in his career. So these are some of the things that are causing Brady to not play as well as in years past. They are, unfortunately, beyond his control, and he's doing as much as he can to make up for those other deficiencies. All right. Is Brady playing as well as he did last year, even absent all of that? No. But is the decline precipitous? Absolutely not.
It's also not physical.
Right.
It's also not mental.
He's still got the arm. Some of the things is his platform has changed a little bit. I would argue because of, again, a lot of the issues with the offensive line, specifically that left guard spot. And his pocket movement isn't what it was in New England. Maybe a little bit worse than last year. Yes, I will fully admit Tom Brady is not the Tom Brady of 2020 or 2021. But when you go down the list of issues with this offense, there's quite a few things that you're going to tick off as having an effect before you ever get to Brady. All right. So if you're citing that as issue number 1 for why this offense is performing below expectations, I will 1,000% argue the other side of that. Is Brady as good as last year?
Okay.
Nope. But is that the huge issue that's ruining this team? No. When you look at some of those throws that he's missing, look at the situation. 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 6. It's a lot easier to be a successful offense when you're not facing those situations. You look at some of the best offenses in the NFL, Kansas City, Buffalo. They face 3rd down less than everybody else. The reason is because they're throwing on 1st down. And the Bucs don't do that near as much as they should when you look at the difference between their running game and their passing game.
Didn't you say, sir, that you would give Josh a second to speak without any kind of interruption? I mean,
I'm good. I think I've outlined my points there.
Well, and then I'm gonna throw really quickly a point in about this coaching staff. So if we want to talk about coaching staffs, adjustments, game plans, executions, okay. You want to talk about good coaching staff and making adjustments? Let's flash back a couple weeks ago to the Rams. I mean, what do the Bucs typically do on 2nd down, everyone? It's a screen. They almost ran for a pick 6. That's knowing what the other team's going to do, make an adjustment, and go for it. Let's talk about this last game against the Browns. Anytime it was 1st and 10 or 2nd and long, what the Browns did, kind of what Josh was alluding to, is to make things a little bit easier on your quarterback. What did they do? They went 5 wide, and that ball was coming out of Jacoby Brissett's hands less than 2 seconds. What they knew as soon as the Bucs went 5 wide, it was going to be an automatic check to zone, and you can go back and watch the film. Every single time they went 5 wide, the Bucs adjusted to a zone. It was an easy completion for Brissett that set up a second and manageable or a third and manageable. That's good coaching. Tell me, other than the one that really sticks out is that Brashad Perryman game-winning touchdown against the Bills. Where has that been from an offensive standpoint? Where, I mean, we talk about all the time, in terms of a QB beginning a game and getting some rhythm. Let's get some short, easy passes. Let's get some second, third, and manageables. Let's Josh, like he's saying, let's throw on first down. And I know the point that you're going to bring up, sir, is that the Bucs are throwing it first down on a higher rate than what this Bucs fandom and community is saying. And that is true. But if you look at their efficiency on first down, it is bottom of the league. And then if you want to look at first and second down efficiency, so when they do throw on first down and then maybe run on second down or vice versa, they're effectively, as Josh is pretty much pointing out to, it's not getting any better than 3rd and 6. That is an issue in an NFL where, Josh, you don't want to get into third downs. That's the ideal scenario, right? But obviously no one's perfect, and defenses are paid for a reason. However, when you want to look at making things easy, we haven't done it in the run game. We haven't done it in the pass game. And then if you want to say when we have done it on the defensive side, it's worked out pretty well. But when we're having, 4 to 6 3-and-outs in the second half, what that essentially is doing is whatever momentum you did gain from a defensive standpoint, I mean, you give a team 8 drives to score a touchdown, they're eventually going to score a touchdown. Even if Jacoby Brissett's the quarterback, even if it's the Browns, they're eventually going to score, because that's just how the NFL is. And I mean, everyone wants to talk about the Broncos. If they scored 18 points every single game, they'd be 9-1. If the Bucs scored 18, they'd pretty much have a similar record. And that's why I'm worried about this Saints game, is because now without Tristan Wirfs, you already have the left guard situation that Josh is alluding to with Nick Leverett, who's playing okay, but it's not exactly a world-beating thing here. Now you got Josh Wells at right tackle. That ball's going to come out of Brady's hands sooner, and we're not doing anything creative to be able to execute and be able to actually run a sustainable offense. Because otherwise what you're going to do is go no huddle, and that's what everyone's saying, hey, go no huddle. That's not sustainable. This isn't the Oregon Ducks playing, Mississippi State or, Vanderbilt University. This is the NFL. You can't just do that the entire time, because you're going to run into 3-and-outs, and your defense is going to get tired quick. And, with the Saints, now you got to deal with, when was the last time from a defensive standpoint we stopped a trick play? I mean, that's what worries me when we talk about Taysom Hill and this matchup coming up. But from both sides of the ball, when you have ability and talent, you're not using it. I mean, Mike Evans hasn't been schemed up this entire season to have an easy catch. He hasn't been schemed up in the red zone. I mean, we talked about last year when the Mike Evans has been schemed up.
The whole playbook has concepts in it that we've been using. Brady doesn't like using concepts in the playbook. He likes matchups. He likes mismatches. He goes for the mismatches. He doesn't use the play for what it's meant to be used.
I don't know what Skip Bayless show you're watching, but that is not a Tom Brady offense.
So the Bruce Arians offense, hold on. Let's clear up this misconception. The Bruce Arians offense, typically, you're looking at a 3-by-1 set in 11 personnel. Okay. Mike Evans is the X receiver who's typically lined up solo to one side, typically the boundary side. Then you have 3 options lined up to the field side. All right. That is the concept side of the play. The play is designed where typically the main read is to the concept side, where you have 3 routes being run. All right. Then Evans is lined up on the other side, and Brady gets to check to him or does check to him when he sees basically if Evans is going to end up one-on-one. That's typically in a cover 1 situation or a cover 3 situation. Arians designed this offense for that to be something that he wants his quarterback to go to. All right. So if the corner's up pressed, if the corner is up pressed, most of the time that route is going to be a check to a deep 9 route. Okay. Because Evans, with his skills, he's supposed to be able to beat the press and get deep, which he's been doing. Okay. And you're correct. They are not hitting those shots. All right. The two of them are not on the same page. Sometimes it's an overthrow. Sometimes Evans just drops the ball. They're just not on the same page. Sometimes based on the coverage, Evans will, like a cab, he'll come back on an 18-yard deep on a comeback. Sometimes it's an out. Sometimes it's a dig, depending on how the coverage lines up. But if Brady sees that one-on-one pressed up corner, he's going to go to Evans every time. That's what the offense wants him to do. Okay, that's the design. If you go back to what's his name in Arizona, Carson Palmer, that's what he would do with that outside X receiver. That's what the offense is designed to do. Now, if Brady doesn't see that pressed up one-on-one where Evans can go, then he comes back to the concept side and he just runs that read.
But we don't just do that. We don't just do that. We throw concepts. I mean, we did one yesterday when Julio and Mike Evans was on the same side, and Julio kept going. Mike Evans came back. That's the concept right there. But let me break down from, because you guys threw a lot back, so I like that. With Gene's point, I want to say we were up 17-10 in the fourth, so it wasn't like we were up 23 or up 27.
But we had a lead. You will
lead.
Agree we had a lead, right?
I agree with that. But before they tied the game, we stopped them twice, including on the fourth down. We stopped them twice and gave the offense the ball at their own 45-yard line and stopped the Browns twice. They went 3 and out back to back and gave the Browns the ball back. And they came back and tied the game. So when you're talking about, the Browns are doing this on offense, the problem was we could not get a 2-possession game going. If we was to be able to get 3 points and make it 20-10 and get a 2-possession game, we take the Browns out of their game plan, out of what they love to do.
Should have gone for it on fourth down.
Which tells me there's an issue with the coaching staff.
No, because again, what Todd Bowles said was, I trusted my defense to get the ball back to my offense. And he did twice, and stopped the fourth down conversion. So the defense did exactly what he thought the defense was going to do. And even the guy in the commentator was saying, I know why Todd Bowles didn't go for it. He's trusting his defense.
I don't think Jonathan Vilma's the guy you want to,
Jonathan Vilma called it terrible.
Your hat on.
The point is, he said Todd Bowles is trusting in his defense because the defense is starting to hit the quarterback and the defense is starting to sack the quarterback. And we was doing that. And again, he was right. We got the ball back twice for our offense and they did nothing with it. So you can say, he should have did this, he should have did that. He did what he did, assuming that his defense was going to hold, and he was right twice. And the offense did nothing with it but go 3 and out back to back. Okay. So if we take them out of their game, they can't continue to pound the rock. We make them one-dimensional. It's an easy game from here on out, but the offense couldn't do their part. Now, going to what the other guy was saying about Tom Brady in the pocket, the last sack in overtime, Brady got sacked by Myles Garrett because he did not step up in the pocket.
Again, he got sacked because Donovan Smith got beat in less than a second.
Right.
And Myles Garrett didn't have any kind of chip or help or anything. Donovan Smith was left on an island.
He got beat in the outside, which is okay. In fact, Brady tells his O-line.
You think getting beat inside, if we're talking peewee football and the high school level football, yes, you never want to get beat inside. But if you that's an issue.
Tom Brady literally tells his O-line, just don't get beat fast and in the inside.
What you're talking about, that sack, it was 3rd and 13. Let's go back to 3rd and 13. Why were we in 3rd and 13?
Why were we in 3rd and 13?
Yeah, that sack was on 3rd and 13. I'm not sure if you remember that. This goes back to my point about putting your offense in the right position.
I don't remember why we're on 3rd and 13.
Well, let me tell you why we were in 3rd and 13. Okay.
Okay.
First down. Guess what we did on first down?
Run.
What did we do on first down?
Passed.
Oh, I want you to guess. There's 2 things you can do on first down. You can pass. You can run. Give me a guess. What did we do?
Did we run?
We ran. And guess how many yards we picked up?
Okay.
-3 yards.
-1.
-3. Okay, -3. Put yourself in 2nd and 13, which puts yourself in 3rd and 13. Okay, you were talking about the 3 and out. Okay, so I'm gonna go. You're right. We shouldn't have gone 3 and out. We were going in 3 and out because we were running the ball inefficiently in a situation where you don't want to run the ball, which is first down. Okay.
You have
and to your point about the deep routes on first down, if you go with shorter concepts to put yourself in 2nd and 4, now it's a lot easier to run the ball on 2nd and 4. All right. So are you familiar with success rate in terms of downs? Like, do you understand the concept?
What do you mean? Just say it.
Yeah, absolutely. So in NFL terms, a successful first down is one where you pick up half the yardage that you need to get a first down or a touchdown. So most first downs, you're 1st and 10. So a successful play on first down is one that gains 5 or more yards. 2nd down, you want to gain at least 75% of the yards to go. And 3rd down, obviously, you have to gain 100% or you're most likely going to punt. All right. So most first downs are 1st and 10, which means that in order for a first down to be successful, you want to gain at least 5 yards. How many offenses in the NFL can average 5 yards per carry? And are the Bucs one of them? Okay. There's like 2 or 3 offenses in the NFL that average over 5 yards a carry. Okay. And the Bucs are not one of them. So when you have an offensive coordinator who almost is indoctrinated into this idea that we are going to establish the run game on first down, what he is doing is he is putting his quarterback and his offense. And man, hey, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you giving us this back and forth. I do think that this call is dragging out, so I hope you don't mind. I'm going to kind of end this here, and feel free to call back in the future. But when you have an offensive coordinator who's consistently saying, we're going to run a type of play that is designed based on our offense's efficiency in terms of running the ball to not succeed, not pick up at least half the yards, I've got an issue with that, and everything else stems from it. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Real quick, do you remember the Rams game?
I do remember the Rams game.
Okay, the Rams game, and when we threw the game-winning touchdown, right?
Yep, Kate Otten, right?
Goal line. We were goal line. A play that Brady has missed a lot of times, but we were goal line, and you know what we did with? I believe we didn't have any timeouts, right?
I can't recall it.
We had 0 timeouts.
There you go. Thank you, Ken.
Yes, and we were goal line, and you know what we did?
Play action.
2nd down, we play action. And do you know what the linebackers did? They
bit. Yeah. No, I've always been a proponent of the Bucs doing more play action.
To me, that's a coaching scheme point that's not being done enough.
The point is this: we're not running the ball constantly because we're trying to establish the run and get gashes and run the ball 5 yards every time we run the ball on first down. That's not the point. The point is for that team to understand, you're not going to stop us from running the ball. We will run the ball if we want to run the ball. That is
defensive coordinators love that the Bucs are doing.
Every defensive coordinator loves that.
They benefit from this more. Because it's so predictable. They benefit from it.
Yeah, but you know what? This is nothing different. The only difference is we can't make them pay for it down the field. There is no difference from what we've been doing in the Super Bowl year or last year. The run game has not been any worse than what it's been those other years. we haven't been
one of the
more
worst
predictable
running
than-
games in NFL history.
Yeah. Hey man, like I said, I think this call's gone about enough. I really appreciate all of the everything that you've contributed, man. But this call is going on half an hour, and I'm not sure if we have anybody else calling in or if Gene wants to hit any other points. So do look forward to talking with you on a future episode, though.
All right, man. All right, so just kind of moving towards the Saints game. And what are the keys to victory in that Saints game? I really want to kind of touch on that. We didn't really get to talk about it too much. I mean, I know we've talked about a lot of the negative, but is this a winnable game?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And what
I'm pulling up 20. That's what we need to score. If we put 20, I think we win. Score 20. Score 20.
It could happen. So, with the injuries, I mean, what does this team look like? I mean, you've looked at the injury report.
There isn't one yet.
Yeah. Yeah, the Saints. Excuse me, guys. Yeah, they haven't produced one. I checked my email, and it doesn't look like they produced one for today. I think because it's a Monday night game, they can delay everything by a day.
Yeah.
So, can you scheme help for this offensive line? Is that what they're going to need to do with the injuries that they're suffering?
Yeah, you absolutely can scheme up. I mean, you can reduce the amount of routes that you're sending out and keep more guys in for pass protection. So I'll give you a very specific example. Go back to the Baltimore game, the first touchdown drive. It wasn't the touchdown. It was, I think, the play before that where they ran a play action, and it was a 2-route concept. It was Godwin and Evans running dueling crossers into the end zone. And literally it's a two-read play against single high safety. Brady just literally has to read which way the safety's leveraging and go the opposite direction. So you can do stuff like that. Obviously, the fewer guys you put into route concepts, the greater, or the less margin of error you have. But they can definitely do stuff like that. You can keep your tight ends in to help block. You can keep Rashad White in to help him block. Lenny, if he's back healthy. So yeah, they can scheme things up. I think more 3-step drop concepts to lean into Brady's ability to get the ball out quick. I'd love to see some rub routes, things like that, where you're getting guys open in space. Less of the designed smoke screens and stuff like that, but true rub routes, stuff like that. I think that, yeah, they can create an offense that can beat the Saints. Absolutely. They can scheme one up. Will they? I don't know.
Yeah.
I've given up trying to figure it out.
That's the huge question right there. KB, your thoughts?
I mean, it's going to be tough. I want to see what the safety position looks like. I mean, we lost Mike Edwards and Antoine during the game. Logan's coming back is designated to return from IR. We don't know if that means he'll play Monday night, but
I doubt it.
Yeah, I don't think he will either. But essentially, is Antoine going to play? I'm assuming so, but he had the concussion. He passed the concussion protocol during the game. He did have an ankle injury as well. So look like, I think the Saints, they're coming off, obviously I think one of our commenters Andy put that, they put up a big 0 goose egg against the 49ers. But the 49ers to me are one of probably the top 3 elite defenses we have in the NFL right now. So I wouldn't read too much into that. The Bucs obviously have that kind of potential. I trust the defense like we pretty much have this entire year, other than the Chiefs game, to at least keep us in the game. It's, what is the offense going to do? I liked what Josh said about rub routes, not necessarily to scheme like the smoke screens or whatnot, but imagine if Marshawn has to run into Julio every now and then, when Mike Evans and, if you want to put him on the same side.
Julio's bodying dudes this year.
That's what I think Godwin is one of the best blockers from the wide receiver position in the NFL. I mean, Julio's put on a clinic when he's played this year. So, again, like that's what I want to see is, as Josh laid out earlier, the 3-by-1 concept. But right now, I don't think Mike's fully healthy. He took that rib shot. People think that's, maybe why he didn't extend for that pass or gave up a
Oh,
little
he
too
could.
early. We know if Marshawn's playing for the Saints, my healthy Mike and healthy Marshawn generally cancel each other out. But a not healthy Mike, I mean, that's going to be some trouble in general. So you can't exactly say, hey, Mike's going to go for 100, or, 80 and a touchdown this game or whatever. I don't think you can really expect that.
Sorry about it.
From an offensive standpoint, I mean, I love that we've used Godwin the way that we have from a fantasy perspective, but while Godwin's utilization has gotten better and more effective, if that makes sense, it's kind of been to the detriment of the overall team in my eyes, from the offensive perspective, because again, Godwin's like his routes and his screens are just too obvious right now. Like on third down, you just know the ball's going to Mike. I think when Julio's been effective, it's been a huge boost to this offense. So I'm hoping Julio's healthy and can provide some good stuff for us offensively. But I'm a big fan of Max Protects,
Yeah.
especially in the red zone when we play the Saints on Monday.
Question for you, and this is a interesting question in the chat. My question is, why do the schemes never fit the situation? Do you agree that that's a problem that we see? With there are times where they run the ball where you think they should pass. I mean, does this question make sense? I've kind of wondered sometimes why they call the plays where they call them. I mean, I understand calling the plays, but at times where they call them. Do you agree with this, or does this make sense?
I mean, it makes sense, but also I think people have to remember not everyone's Sean McVay, the Shanahans, and what's his face in Miami. They all come from the same coaching tree. McDaniel, thank you. I almost said McCarthy, but McDaniel. They all come from the same coaching tree. So it's not like, you have 30 teams running the same scheme here. The Bucs offense isn't exactly, Madden in that, you run the same like 6 plays over and over again. I mean, they do scheme some stuff up, and sometimes you see the Bucs come out and start off really hot, or they start off really bad, and maybe in the second half make that little adjustment. But it's those in game that's where the scheme needs to be tweaked in that, again, setting yourself up for easy reads, get the ball out quick, but also not necessarily doing out of necessity.
Yeah. Paul Atwall, I think he says it so well. It's very easy to digest. The Bucs offense and the way that Leftwich is calling it seems to be very siloed. Okay. And by what he means by that is they'll do certain concepts where, based on the personnel package and where they're lined up, with fairly strong accuracy, you can say, okay, this is going to happen. I know one that's very much near and dear to Ken's heart in a bad way is when Godwin is motioned in behind the tight end. You take Godwin from either slot in tight, or maybe he's out wide on a single a single side, and he comes in and he motions in behind the tight end. And it's I don't know the exact number, but I can confidently say like 90% of the time, if you see Godwin end up behind the tight end, okay, we're going to be running the ball. Okay. So if we can see that, okay, you better believe defensive coordinators and advanced scouts can see that. And they know, okay, let's make sure in our game planning this week that the linebackers, typically the box safety understands that they see exactly.
Keys.
Yep. If Godwin motions in behind a tight end, just attack the gaps because it's going to be a run. All right. So then when they go spread, okay, they're going to run, or they're going to pass the ball, almost 100% of the time. So the best offensive coordinators, what they do is they layer in things. They say, okay, I'm going to show this look 2 or 3 times. I'm going to make the defense think that this is it, but now I'm going to run a counter to this. All right. So a great example of that Leftwich did.
The fake screen.
The fake screen is my favorite this season, right? So he had developed this tendency where on 2nd and 5 to 10 in that area, he was running screenplays over a third of the time. All right. And Ken alluded to it with the caller earlier. The Rams keyed in on that and almost got a straight up pick off of it by an edge defender. It would have been a pick 6 because they knew it was coming. Mm-hmm. Well, the following week, the Bucs ran a counter to that. They faked a screen to Julio and had Evans run. Evans and Godwin basically ran parallel fade routes from both from the slot, and he hits Evans for an 11-yard gain. So that's where your scheme, you start layering things, you create tendencies, and then you're going to build off of them with things that are counter what the defense thinks you're going to do. That's when you get really, really good play calling. Byron's shown he can do it. He's just not very consistent at it. And that's where he's got to improve. To use his words, he's got to call it better. He's got to coach it better.
Right.
There's his opportunity.
I think people misconstrue or misuse when they say, it's like a chess game. Whereas, I think where it's more like a chess game is where Josh was kind of laying out. I'm literally having you look on the right side of the board when really I'm setting you up on the left, where those counters or the fake screens, it's because you did it 2 or 3 times. It's like the whole Godwin thing. If it was 50% of the time instead of 90% of the time, that's a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, what, just being able to see a team and they expect you to run and you run. I mean, that's problematic too, though. That's kind of what you're alluding to when you're saying that. Yep. And again, these are things that, they can pick up on that. They watch more film than I do, or all 3 of us, put together. I'm sure that they can see things that, they can definitely change. And all I want to see is adjustments made. When something's not working, adjust to it. Or if a defense adjusts to it, adjust to that. And we're just seeing them forcing the same plays over and over again for the most part.
Yeah. It's funny, just kind of like play off of that. The Bucs' most successful running play this year is literally counter.
Okay. Josh, do I get extra bonus points? Do I get a check plus on my report card?
Gold star for you, KB.
So they run duo most of the time. All right. So duo is basically a power scheme. Right. It calls for typically 2 double teams, where the center is identifying the middle linebacker. He's going to help. He's going to help double team the nose tackle, and then he moves up to the second level, right? And the running back running behind it kind of finds his lane and then moves up it. And counter basically
you typically see a lot of dancing.
Yep. Counter basically makes the defense think that that's what they're doing. And then it ends up going to the opposite side, right? So, and that has been their most successful play because teams believe they're going to run duo.
Yep.
And they're moving to the play side, or what looks to be the play side. And the Bucs can gash teams with that counter to the backside. Now you can't set up an entire running game around counter because then it becomes the thing that they're looking for.
Right.
But that's kind of what we're talking about. They set up duo and then they run counter off of it. It works really well. So that's kind of what we're talking about. And in terms of what the commenter said, there are some times where it just seems like everybody in the stadium, especially the defense, knows what's about to be run. And if the defense knows what's coming, it's a hell of a lot easier to stop it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we've seen that throughout the season. Well, guys, I can't believe it's been an hour. And I want to thank you guys both for your patience and, just kind of going through all this. You guys are greatly appreciated. And man, Josh, thank you so much for, just your insight on a lot of this.
I had a blast. I mean, the caller, I think it went a little long, but I appreciate his patience and giving us an opportunity to respond to the points that he made. And even though I disagree with him, I think at the core of our arguments, he's very respectful. It made for a nice little back and forth. I think next time, I just hope that we can keep it a little bit more concise.
Understood. Totally. Well, guys, we'll be doing this again next week. Hopefully you won't be traveling, my friend, and we can get you back on here. I really enjoyed the banter, and KB, you guys did a great job, by the way.
My internet tonight. I'm sorry, everyone. It's been fun. If you see me keep
Yeah, like he just froze up. Andy, Andy Finley from the UK, from over in Scotland. Thank you for checking us out. Yeah, Munich was a blast, man. Uh, I don't think there will be another. I mean, I know everybody's been to London. I haven't been to a London game yet, but I'll eventually hit one. But this game in Munich was just special, just the way everything was and how amazing the Bucs in Germany, Germany Bucs, Cayman Island Bucs. Shout out to you guys. Adam Davies, my man. We drank a lot of beer together, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Shout out to Andy and Adam. I believe it's 1 a.m. their
1
time,
a.m.
and they're watching. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's dedication right there, man. I really appreciate that. I will be trying to catch them with catch a watch party over there next season in the UK. Andy, I'm definitely going to come and stay with him in Glasgow at some point and just kind of hang out and drink beer. No Buck Fast for me, but just strictly beer. But yeah, we'll have a blast, man. But anyway, it's pretty much it for us. Guys, thank you so much. Everybody in the chat. Emily Justice, Mr. Everything's Bucks, Nestor. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry. Thank you so much. And we'll be doing this again next Wednesday. Emily, shout out to you, Hardcore. One of the hospital staff, greatly appreciated over there in Tampa. So thank you so much. I'm going to get off of here, and you guys have a great evening. Go Bucks and Buck What You Heard. We are out of here.